Hello, everyone. My name is Alan Baptista. I'm a product marketing manager here at Chef Progress. It is my great pleasure to be the moderator and facilitator for this conversation. We're going to be talking about chef compliance, an update story. We're basically going to be going through some of the key elements that we want to make sure that all of our customers and users are aware of and up to date on the latest and greatest for chef compliance. I have the pleasure of having an esteemed panel of experts. Why don't you introduce yourselves, starting with Lokesh?
Hello everyone, I'm Lokesh. I'm currently handling Chef Compliance product portfolio as a senior product manager for Inspect product line, content team, and cloud resource pack team. So that's about me. Thanks, Alan.
Sharon?
Hi everyone, my name is Sharan Raikar. I'm also part of the product management group at Progress. I'm working along with Lokesh, and we are responsible for a bunch of things in terms of the roadmap as well as day-to-day operations with respect to product on chef compliance, inspec, and the content that we built in. Yeah.
Ashwini?
Hello everyone, my name is Ashwini Nehate and I'm working on writing, creating audits and remediations and working in compliance team. Thank you.
Don?
Hi, Don Slanek here. I'm a senior sales engineer for the West Coast.
All right, thank you everyone. Here's what we're gonna basically cover. I'm going to be starting with talking about the need for balancing speed and compliance and why chef compliance is so important. Then we're going to go into a little deeper and talk about chef compliance and beyond, some aggregated information, some pieces around chef compliance and why it's so important for organizations to consider adopting this solution. We'll do a quick demo, kind of a Q&A back and forth between a couple of our experts. And then we're ultimately going to dive into the compliance roadmap on what's the latest and greatest, what's come out, and what is forthcoming, what we can expect to look forward to. So now why don't we get started? Well, there is this need for sometimes plugging security holes feels like, or when you're working for compliance, it really feels like you're plugging holes into a dam, really. If you're driving this compliance and security systems, that sometimes it feels like you're plugging those holes in the dam, where once you plug in one hole and then you get another one and then another one pops up and you have to go run and patch that hole. So ultimately, it's as if you are finding compliance failures in production, you're definitely failed as an organization, as a security institution, and definitely as an InfoSec organization. So there's a need for the speed, for speed to deliver innovation. There's a need for new code or new business value is ultimately at an all-time high. And every organization is trying to bring their applications, their business solutions, or ultimately value to customers and shareholders to market a lot faster. But the speed, but with the speed ultimately comes at what cost to the organization? Is it at the cost of quality of what is being put out there? Or even worse, is it the cost of security of our systems and our environments? There's a delicate balance, or a need for a delicate balance between the need for speed and the ability to do so in a secure and compliant way. So why is there that difficulty in balancing why is it so hard? Even Gartner agrees with us that to balance speed and risk is needed, and it is ultimately achieved by leveraging automation and implementing what we like to call compliance as code. So we'll go a little bit more into why it's important to have this concept of compliance as code in a few minutes. So that need for security, ultimately, and compliance for that matter, is, and as it should be non-negotiable, which in many cases causes impediments to the ability of the organization to deliver with speed. Because among these many reasons, security reviews are typically done at the end of this very long delivery process, when most slippages and delays have put the security review in tremendous pressure to happen and not impede the delivery of that said solution and innovation. Ultimately, audits also, which is a way to validate compliance, take away the valuable productive time that staff have to work on that said innovation or business value. Having to concentrate on manual and many times cumbersome audit processes is very time consuming and very counterproductive in a way. And even when done appropriately, the current security and compliance efforts or processes provide this limited visibility and hinder that collaboration between the teams, which in many cases causes undue risk to our environments and the security and compliance of that. The prevailing perception is that InfoSec policies slow things down. Even a recent Gartner report highlights that there were 81% of IT professionals agree that InfoSec policies inhibit agility and speed. And even 77% of the security professionals themselves agree that that policy slows things down. So it's ultimately the perception is reality here, that things are slowed down by the existing processes. Well, and why is that? Well, despite the velocity, the gains by other teams, such as Agile and DevOps practices, InfoSec's teams are still lagging behind. And that the continuous demand to increase speed and potentially amplifies these existing issues. Breaches take a long time to find, and exploitations occur on known vulnerabilities, and that the remediation that takes time, the remediation that is needed also takes time to complete. 56% of the breaches took months or longer to discover. In the Verizon data breach report of 2019, or actually since 2014, we've seen that more than 90% of the exploits observed only use 9 known vulnerabilities. So it's not that people don't know what they're vulnerable against. It's that it's very difficult to find those things. In a recent IDG survey that Chef conducted in late 2020, we found that most companies take about 2 months to actually complete that compliance security audit we talked about. Very time consuming, very manual, very cumbersome process. And even though those audits are taking place, 73% of the companies have released vulnerabilities at least one time a year. So even though all that effort is being put in into keeping your into your system secure, it is still causing organizations to release vulnerabilities knowingly so. So it's very, very difficult really for organizations to hamper and have a completely locked down system. And like we talked about earlier, that traditional approach really exacerbates the pain, because the security reviews, which are done at the end of the process, are very time consuming, are manual, are slow. They use scanning tools that generate a lot of false data, a lot of noise, and a lot of difficult processes to really identify and hone in on those compliance and security issues. We may even catch problems too late in the development cycle, where it's a lot more difficult and more expensive to solve, and really hard to manage those systems or those exceptions and those waivers is a very difficult way. So we here at Chef have come up with Chef Compliance, which is ultimately the way that we envision how you best solve these issues of manual compliance, of manual audits, and very time-consuming process. So as we go through the next steps, I want to make sure that you understand that this is our kind of solution to all these problems that we mentioned before.
All right, thanks, Helen. Yes, I do agree. Security reviews done at the end is really painful process and a cumbersome thing. Having said that, the continuous compliance helps to close this gaps. So on continuous compliance, if you see, we have different CIS benchmarks and stick benchmarks for operating systems, DB systems, web servers, etc. So users have to define the baseline at the initial phase and run it on their infra side. So if the audit results, let's say if it's 100% passed at the first try itself, then it is 100% compliant. So in an ideal scenario, it won't be like that. So there will be certain controls which will be failing, and users have to remediate the controls that are failing. Some controls can be fixed right away. Some needs time to fix, or users can also put an exception for these controls by applying waivers based on proper business continuity measures and policies in place. So when you repeat the same process for different types of systems trying to be compliant, then the continuous compliance is achieved along with different systems in the infra. So this is the workflow we have come up, and it has been widely appreciated by our customers and our partners as well. Yeah, so this is about continuous compliance. Let's switch gears about chef compliance and different workflow in chef compliance. So the first phase in chef compliance, it's an acquire phase. So in acquire phase, customers get access to the premium content and decide which profiles to apply for their compliance need. Basically, it's a groundwork done by customers to set the baselines. So customers can get started quickly with the help of chef audit content for CAS and stick benchmarks. So this is on the acquire phase. The second one is on the define phase. So chef makes it easy to define compliant baselines and tune them to organizations unique compliance needs. Users, with the help of maybe with waiver features, they can turn on or off individual controls with proper justifications. So this is on the define phase to define the baseline. Third phase is on the detect phase. So in detect phase, it's basically an audit to continuously monitor and evaluate compliance postures by detecting deviations if there are any misconfigurations from the intended state from the software delivery lifecycle. So this is on the detect phase. And the fourth, the critical one, which most of the customers are looking for, it's on the remediate phase. So in remediate, audit, just doing audit is not enough. You have to remediate the failed controls or non-compliant controls. So in remediate, there are non-compliant controls or misconfigurations are fixed. So by chef remediate content, this can be done seamlessly, easily, and without having any coding expertise or coding skills. So that is a key advantage we have with chef remediation. And the last one, it's on the reporting phase. This is to have like a comprehensive dashboard and also to have up-to-date visibility on heterogeneous assets or different sets of infra, and also to view different compliant resources and reports based on nodes, based on controls like past controls, past nodes, failed controls, failed nodes, skip controls. So these are the different reporting aspects we have in the reporting phase. So yeah, this is about the five phases of chef compliance, and let's see the key advantage of chef compliance in next slide. So on top three advantages, quick time to value, lower context switching, and lower code. The first advantage on quick time to value, by leveraging our premium audit and remediate content to address the compliance needs of the organizations, and the two, without any additional coding needed in understanding the compliance posture or for mitigating the deviations. That is the quick time to value benefit. Second advantage, meaning like lower context switching to perform faster audits. This means like user can edit the policies on the go from the workstation itself through our inspect tool, which is a very flexible tool, and they can also view the results in automate quickly. So on third advantage, lower code, one can easily set up the audit and remediate environment without coding knowledge or expertise. So that is a key advantage for lower code. So these are the key values of chef compliance product. Now let's see how the remediation works with chef compliance. So on remediation, I would like to start with an analogy. Let's say if you are a personal user and you have a PC. In your PC, when you have an antivirus software, you run scan on your PC to identify malware, viruses, and other threats. So once the threats are identified, these threats are alleviated by deleting the virus or by quarantining it. So if the virus is not remediated, either by deleting or putting it by quarantine, then PC is not 100% secure. So on the same note, if your system or your infrastructure has been monitored or audited for threats, breaches, risks, or any misconfigurations, And if these risks and threats left unremediated, then the system is not 100% compliant or 100% secure. So the point here is remediation is 100% necessary to resolve the risk identified from the audit side. So with Chef compliance automation, users get access to audit as well as to remediate the system. The first key benefit on remediation, it's like it remediates system by maintaining the continuous compliance principles. Second benefit of remediation is to reduce the time taken to remediate threats from months to weeks to hours. So that is the key benefit of remediation. And then the third one, it's like user need not waste time in chasing false positives. You can also get to know the reasons for failures quickly at each control level, at each node level from the scan results. And then you can also zero in on each results from each control level, understand what is the root cause of the failure and remediate them with less manual intervention. So these are the key aspects of remediation, and we have highlighted the structure how the remediation will look like. So user can enable a scan or remediation by simply setting the flag run colon true. So then the remediation will start getting applied for each control. So moving on to skip controls. So when a user does audit, there are X number of controls which will get passed, Y number of controls which will get failed. The failed controls have to be remediated. What if I don't want to run a specific number of controls, or how to bypass or exclude these controls? So then skip control feature comes in place. Skip control feature helps to exclude the particular set of controls, and user need not create a separate copy of cookbooks to run particular set of controls to which they needed. So this is the usage structure of skip controls which we have mentioned here. So skip control baseline 2. So that baseline 2 control will be excluded from the audit. All right. Having understood the usage pattern, let us know the limitation of skip control feature. So what if a user wants to know how long ago the skip was implemented? What if a user wants to know the justification for skip control? These can't be done on these features, or these items cannot be done on skip control feature. And to support this, we have implemented or we have launched waiver feature. So waiver feature is an interesting feature to achieve these aspects. So let's see about waiver features next slide. Yeah. So on waiver feature, this is similar to skip control, but it has more additional benefits. So now the typical use cases, when a security officer has granted a waiver for 2 months for a particular set of controls, these set of controls will be skipped during the period. And the key benefit here is it will get re-enabled for auditing once the expiration date time is over. So waivers fulfills the purpose of skip controls by allowing customers to provide a business justification for controls against which they are unable to be complained. So one can also specify an end date to track when control should be remediated, or leave it blank when the waiver is permanent. So the key parameters here is like expiration date, run, and justification parameter. And expiration date is optional. If the expiration date is not set, then the waiver is applicable to be permanent. And run is also optional. If it's present and true, then the control will be ran and reported, but the failures in it won't make the overall run fail. But if it's absent or false, the control will not be run. So that is a critical thing to be noted here in waiver. And on justification, it's just like a text you want, and might include a reason as well as who signed off on the waiver. So these are the three critical parameters in waiver. Now we have got an idea about remediate, skip controls versus waive control. Now let's see the important aspect on data feed, how it works with external third parties. So the data feed service sends no data to a third party service like Splunk, Kibana, ServiceNow, etc. So now what information or what data will be sent to these third party services from Chef? There are three critical aspects here. One on compliance aspects, like compliance state of each node, information on pass controls, fail controls, skip controls, wave controls, on compliance aspect, these information will be sent. Second, on data gathered from OHI plugin on each managed node, like hardware info, operating system info, and other programs which have been installed in the system. So these info will be sent. Third, on configuration information, like each managed node, like client run status, run list, cookbooks, and recipes again each node. So these are the information which will get fed to data feed option through to the third-party apps. So data feed operates by doing the following, like it runs for every 4 hours. The data feed service will aggregate the client runs and compliance report from the previous 4 hours and send the information to the registered destinations. So the time interval here is 4 hours by default. It can be configured according to the business need as well. The data aggregates and sends in like batches of 50 nodes at a time. So the batch amount is like 50 by default, but again, this is also configurable. So on compliance report views, so what gets viewed from data feed, it's like compliance report views. So user can able to view the entire report per server level, per node level, and per profile level. So these are the different views they'll get. And one other interesting fact here is like they can also create workflows to trigger remediation and close the issues. So on the right hand side, if you see like it shows the flow diagram for data feed information from Chef clients, how it is collected and how and sent to automate, and then it has been converted into event triggers and fed into third-party services like ServiceNow or Splunk. So then with these details, workflow can be created to remediate issues, and again these details are sent back to automate. This is the workflow of the data feed option. All right, so we have looked into remediation, waivers, data feed option theoretically. Let's right now deep dive on the demo side, which would be done by Don and Ashwini. Over to you, Don and Ashwini.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for all that overview. And I'm excited, Ashwini, to kind of show this in practice and take a look at what it means to actually work with it. So as part of kind of the presentation, we've talked a lot about controls and kind of managing controls and how to waive them and things like that. But what kind of profiles or pre-built groupings do we have of controls?
Yes, Don. So like we have profiles related to various benchmark, which is dependent upon CIs and string and dependent upon OS. So currently we have Windows, then it's Mac, or CentOS, Linux, Red Hat. And actually we can see the available profiles in Chef Automate. We can just move to the compliance tab in profiles, and here we go, like the available profiles, and we can actually check like which all profiles we have. So it's AIX and Amazon Linux, Apache Tomcat. Yeah, and also dependent upon the cloud, we have an Azure Foundation benchmark too. So yeah, so all these profiles we can have like it's available on Automate, and we just need to get these profiles from this while clicking this get, and it will be available here in profiles. So currently I have just get all these profiles, and these are available. So this all profiles I can do auditing on notes. Yeah.
Awesome. And you know, say I'm part of an organization and we use STIG as part of how we do compliance. Are there profiles that cover STIG?
Yes, for STIG, we have actually like we can showcase all these profiles which are related to STIGs in available. So and it's like we have like almost for Windows 10 2019 and Windows Server 2016. These all profiles are been related to STIGs, and we can move to here and we can check like it's been, yeah. So I'm able to see here. So the sources and the STIG profiles are being available here. So we just need to get it, and it's ready to audit.
Excellent. And now, say, you know, I want to perform an audit. How would I do that with Chef Automate? And can you kind of guide us through how that would look like?
Yeah, this is the important point. Like first we have to do the settings in node integration. So currently I have added my node in Azure. So we just need to make and create an integration depending upon our cloud. So I will choose Azure and add our client ID, secret ID, and tenant ID, and then just associate its tag. So this tag means it's a credential for our node, which we can already, so we can see like here we have added for SRVN and WinRM. So this credentials has been added in node credentials. So it's easier to get like nodes can be SSH or WinRM with the help of this credential. And once we have this node integration is done, so we can move to compliance. And here we can select the scan job and we can create a scan job. So this will create one. So currently we have added in Azure VM, and for a demo purpose we can take for SUSE 15 node. So I'm just adding a tag here. And once we've done a selection, we can move to next. And as we are working on CIS SLS 15, so I'm just choosing this benchmark, so which I have already been get from available profile, and we'll move to next. And I will just say like scan. So here we have an option like we can set a scan job at particular time interval. So currently I haven't added any time, so it will run quickly without any interval. So we can see here it's running. Meanwhile, I can show another scan job which I have already been scanned. So this is the previous scan job which I have worked on, like created on, and in report we can see like this has been ran and a node got failed because some of the controls are being failed. So here we have to choose from node. This is our node SUSE 15.
Yeah, and while this is loading, a lot of organizations, as they run these reports, it's really critical for them to communicate that. Are you able to communicate like the historical results, or is it mainly just the results running currently?
Yes, we can have an historical results. Like you can see like previously in a scan job, I was able to see various scans. So this is a previous scan which I have load yesterday, created yesterday, and we are able to see these results. So currently we can see like 120 controls are being failed. This is the fresh VM, and that's why lots of controls are being failed, and 92 has been passed, and 19 has been skipped. So yeah, but if we see this type of icon, it's been failed, and we can see like we can see like what's the expected and why it's been failed, what we have got output from and node. So and if we get a blue check mark, that means it's been passed, the appropriate value is been matching. And if you have to see like what's the source code, like what has been written in the audit, we can able to see in the source tab also. Yeah. So this of the commands are been passed and this was failed, so that was the reason. Yeah. And for the skip controls, so we can see 19 skip controls have been there. So this is the control. So currently we don't have an audits for this, so it's been skipped, and in this source we have written the skip. So no test has been defined.
Awesome. And now say, I know we talked a little bit earlier about doing temporary waivers on controls, and how when they expire, it starts checking again. What does that look like within Automate?
Yeah. So in Automate, the scan where we currently are, we are able to see like this is a wave control is 0. So what we can do, like we have, if we have to wave some controls, we can web through an audit profiles. So we have just added I have just created a customized cookbook of audit, which actually depends upon audit cookbook which is provided in supermarket, and I have just made some changes in and customized cookbook, where I have just added compliance phase as true and reporter as chef server automate and chef server. So once we run this cookbook, we can able to waive off some for currently we have taken this profile as CIS 15, and we have added its version and the wave file. So this is been copied to an node at this location. So yeah, this is an workstation, and I've just uploaded a cookbook there on Chef Workstation. This is like knife node show. So actually we can with a knife node show SUSE 15. So we are able to see like I have added the my audit cookbook in the run list, and I will just run a chef client here in Anode. And once we run the chef client, so we have added this waiver file on our chef node. We can use chef resources like remote file resource, and we can just move this cookbook waiver file from chef workstation to chef node. And once this is ran, so we can see like chef infra client has been finished, and this report actually get fetched from node to an chef server, and chef server gives an information to chef automate, and we are able to see on chef UI. So these are current node, and now I can see in 3 nodes. So this is 1 minute ago result, where we can see a waiver. So it's just loading. Yeah. So this is the current scene, and we can see these 2 controls are being waived off. And here it's the result, so not able to remediate, and we have added just this as a temporary result, and what is the expiry date, and this source code is in this. So over to that.
Excellent. No, and I can see that definitely being a feature many organizations will find useful. Now, one thing when we look at compliance, it's always a little scary when you see a whole bunch of those red X's and the red failures of different controls. What are some of the options that we have to remediate those? Is Chef able to actually go in and fix some of those compliance failures for me?
Yes, definitely. Chef has this ability to fix these controls. So we have a just apply on Chef node, and we are able to run that. So I'm just so currently I have uploaded this cookbook. So if I try to upload it again, it will just update the latest cookbook which I have on Chef Workstation, and then I just need to add that cookbook into my run list. So currently I have my audit and remediation CIS Linux Enterprise 15 cookbook, and just I will, so it's been now added to an node. I will just run a chef client, and we are able to remediate controls. I'm just deleting the cache in case of any issue. And I have run this chef client now. So here we can see this cookbook has been running. So here we can see we have Android list ready, and this is remediating each control. So whatever the remediation scripts are written, if we don't have any remediation script, then it will just print an echo, like we don't have an automated remediation script, so we need to just do it manually. It will take some time to just upload this. Currently we have all these remediations. So currently we are running for SLS 15, but we do have remediation for Windows 10, Windows Server 2019, Windows Server 2016, and Mac 10.14 and Mac 10.15. I guess it's for 10.13 too, yeah. So once this cookbook remediation has been done, it will take, so it will cover 211 controls. And then our audit cookbook will run, and it will grab all this information from our node to Chef server. And from Chef server, it will just get into Chef Automate. Yeah. So for Chef Automate, we have to do some more settings to on Chef Server. We have to do some more settings to get all this information be provided to Chef Server. So yes, cookbook has been ran, and it's been audit cookbook has also been ran. So here we can see like a generated report is 1.0 MB, and the automate has this limitation of 2 MB. So if it extend, it will not give a proper result on automate UI. So let's go to automate UI and we just check to reports. And once in report, we can just check in one profiles, nodes. And this is our 3-minute ago node. You can see. We can say this is the latest scan. And 166 from 92 controls, 166 controls have been passed, and we have we can see like it's been passed this first 1.1 control. So all these statements have been passed after doing some remediations, and currently we have waived one of the control in this node, so we can see only this control is. And for this 45 controls, we do actually have this remediation as manually because it's related to mounting var or mounting temp, and which is not possible in current scenario. So we are looking into it to have a remediation, but yeah, it's currently skipped. So all this control, if we don't want to see a failure, we can add into waived control. So for just meanwhile, I have just added one control in waived.
Excellent. So that's really handy that you can have some be auto remediated and some still kind of be manually remediated, depending on how sensitive it is.
Right. Yeah.
So we've kind of worked through the whole process. So we've identified where where the compliance issues were. We've managed some of those with waivers and some of them with skip controls. We've done the remediation. When we talk about communicating that data out, definitely reports are important, but when we talk about doing a data feed out to like a ServiceNow or another type of third-party tool, Can you kind of give us a little bit more detail about how that works and what that might look like?
Yes, sure. Yeah. So currently we have just added this in service now. For that, we need to integrate data feed URL in Automate UI to give all this information from Automate to service now. So which actually can be set from here settings. We can move to settings and then a data feed. So I have added this automate test. So where we have to add a data feed URL, which we can see here, and the details. So if we see to create a new data feed, all these entries we need to add in username password to, and then we can just test our data feed URL is working fine from here, and it will just automatically give all reports from automate to service now, and this actually looks here. So this is a node which has been run. So in service now URL we can move to this search box, and we can just type a chef, and we can list all these automate fields like automate instance, chef server, chef infra client run. So once we run and shape client on any node, all information is been fetched here, and we can see the result and start time data, and it actually looks like this. So we have an ID, node ID, and this is our FQDN and FQDN of node, and what cookbooks has been ran. So previously we have just, this is the previous ran, which was like it has an audit, my audit cookbook, which actually depends upon audit cookbook. That's why we can see run this we have two cookbooks. And the one more point is like we need to have an data field interval. We need to set at a particular amount on automate, where which we can see. So this is my automate, and data field patch. This is the field interval. So currently I have so for demo purpose I have added this 1 minute. So M represent as one. So it depend upon the organization benchmark, they can add as 1 hour, 4 hours, 1 second. Yeah. So so to reflect our data in from automate to service now, I have added this entry as 1 minute. And we can see like compliance profiles, which compliance profile is ran. So currently we have ran SLS 15 compliance profile, and all the entries of SLS 15 profile benchmark has been added here, and which all controls we have. So we can say this controls, what is been the code inside it, and its location. And this is the compliance controls. So this compliance profile is there, and these are the compliance controls, which has actually all the controls present in that profile. Here also we can see the source code, what source code is there and what's the location. Just move into that. And if we want to import some of the report, if we have an automate report and if we want to import it, we can import from here. You can just add a new and just click there and add the detailed information in it. And the imported data can be seen here, from where and which profile has been run, and what's what platform, and what's the job ID and status of it end time and start time, and which version it's been done. So yes, yeah, so this all things we can do in this data frame, and we can just take all the reports and this is so nice, like we don't have to maintain our reports. We just need to just add the data feed URL, and it will automatically fetch all our reports here, and it will maintain into the yeah. And the one more point is all this data is maintained from an admin user only. So yeah, that and all, I'm done for myself. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, yeah, thank you very much, Ashwini, for showing us that. And yeah, we'll hand it off to the presentation team.
Great demo. Thank you very much, guys. Appreciate that. Now we're going to hand it off to the long-awaited. We want to talk about the roadmap for chef compliance coming soon. Sharon, you're in.
Sure. Thank you, Alan, and thank you, Don and Ashwini, for a very informative and a very comprehensive end-to-end chef compliance lifecycle demo. Let me speak about the chef compliance roadmap. From a roadmap perspective, there are basically three major areas that we are focusing on for the second half of the financial year 2021. The first major aspect is really the active maintenance of the cloud target scanning, wherein we are building on more cloud resource packs in terms of all the three major cloud providers, AWS, GCP, as well as Azure. We're also expanding on our content generation process. We'll be adding more content to the existing portfolio from both the CIS as well as the strict benchmark perspective. And finally, we are also looking to set up an SLA to keep our content up to date based on the changes which are made by the benchmark providers. Apart from the content addition, one of the key feature we are also looking at is to fasten the overall pace of content generation, basically automating the whole process of generation of the content. And this will really help us in eliminating any of the manual dependencies that we may have in the content generation process. It also helps us to meet the SLAs appropriately. In terms of SLA, basically, we are looking at a very dedicated timelines in terms of releasing the updates to the existing contents which are made by the benchmark providers. That's basically if CIS or the STIG, if they update their benchmarks with a newer version, we would like to have an SLA or basically a time duration by which we update our content. And apart from the content, we are also looking at enhancements on the inspec end. Inspec is our open source language that we use for describing security as well as the compliance rules. And on the inspec side, we are looking at one is we have a huge community following on the inspec side. We are looking to reduce a bunch of community issues on the inspec front, where the community friends have they have raised a certain set of issues. We're looking to kind of gently reduce or kind of overcome those issues. We're also looking to support newer DB resources. This will really help us in supporting the newer DB styles or the DB systems such as MongoDB, Postgres, as well as MS SQL. We're also looking to support cook style within inspec. This will really help customers in terms of having better validation as well as improvement in terms of how they write their inspec code. And finally, on the inspec end, we are expanding our operating system architecture and platform support. We continue to support newer OS and platforms. This will really help us in adding more profiles, more content as we go ahead in the journey of chef compliance. And finally, in terms of the Chef Automate, which is our visibility dashboard that Chef Compliance uses, we are basically looking at two aspects. One is we are really looking at the data which is exported out of Automate, which is basically the data feed. We are looking at enhancements and improvements here. So data from Automate or your compliance data can be exported into ServiceNow for incident management, or it can be also moved to Splunk and Kibana for the monitoring aspects. One of the customer feedbacks that we also received on the Chef Automate was there was a restriction in terms of the amount of data that can be input or that can be fed into the Automate system from the compliance. And that's something that we are also looking to overcome. And that will be a very key feature which will help a bunch of our customers. Wherein I'll cover some of the content that we delivered in 2020. So in 2020, we supported a bunch of content or the profiles. We added support for newer versions of operating systems for Debian, CentOS, Red Hat Linux, Windows, as well as Mac. Newer versions of database systems, we added support for Oracle 12c, PostgreSQL, as well as MS SQL 2016. We also supported newer versions of web servers, Tomcat, Nginx, as well as Apache. And finally, the VMware ESXi on the hypervisor end was also added. We also added support for on the container security end, as well as with support for CIS benchmarks for Docker, as well as the enterprise edition of the Kubernetes. And finally, we accomplished the support for AWS as well as the GCP resource packs. With that, I move on to the content for or the content roadmap for 2021. In the first half of this year, we continue to focus on adding the remediator as well as the audit contents, both on the CIS as well as the STIG end. On the DB systems, the two major areas that we concentrated on was the MS SQL Server 2019 as well as MongoDB. We released some of the newer versions of web servers, specifically Apache Tomcat 9. On the Windows Server as well as the desktop, we added support for Windows 10, Windows 2019. SUSE Linux 15 was another addition to our profile list. That was something added in the first half of the year. We continue to add and build our cloud target scanning. We added more support for both AWS as well as the Azure resource packs. And from the second half of the year, we will concentrate on adding more versions or supporting newer versions of the target system. Specifically on the DB systems, and we are looking at MS SQL Server 2017 and the Oracle databases 19c as well as 12c. We'll also be adding newer versions of the web servers, in terms of Apache Tomcat 9, where we'll be supporting the remediation. And on the Linux operating systems, we are also looking at helping produce content for Ubuntu 2004 as well as for Red Hat Linux 8. And finally, on the Mac desktop, that was something that we are concentrating, significantly in the second half, wherein we plan to add more support for Apple Mac OS 11 as part of the audit content. So apart from just the content, we are also looking to significantly enhance our resource packs, continue to building and adding more resource packs for AWS, Azure, as well as the GCP. And with that, I move on to some of the customer stories where we have seen results from the Chef compliance. And I want to focus on the first compliance story, which is basically a fintech org. It's a fintech enterprise which produces or which has more than 300 products and services, and they are basically a financial processing group helping enterprises with financial processing. They had a very complex environment, and they had a very complex task of really maintenance of their operating system compliance, remediation of the target systems, and they were not having a visual representation into their compliance state. They also needed to manage hundreds of configurations across all their systems, which ran into thousands in numbers. So they basically use the Chef compliance automation suite with all of its components, starting from Automate, which is basically the Chef Automate. With Chef Automate, they got an instant visibility into their compliance state of their entire fleet in one place, without really needing to go into more custom reports that they used to use earlier. They use Chef Infra. Chef Infra really helped them to manage the configs, proactively remediate without really causing any kind of configuration drift, uh, and eliminating any constant requests they used to get for, kind of repetitive remediation procedures. And finally, they use Chef Inspect. This really helped them to test their fleet, determine what's really compliant and what is not, and avoid the reliance on periodic vulnerability scans that they used to rely on previously, and which obviously led to excessive resource consumption. So now with Chef Inspect, they kind of avoided a bunch of those problem points. Moving on to the second growth story, or the second customer success story, we have Haventech. Haventech is a cybersecurity firm. It's involved in really helping enterprises protect against insider threats as well as cyber attack. And they came to us with a need that they wanted to meet PCI as well as the DSS compliance with respect to the various solutions they were releasing. They also wanted to automate the Docker or the environment provisioning, as well as they wanted to kind of generally manage their virtual machine systems as well. So with Chef Inspect and Chef Automate, they could really build a fully automated self-configuring architecture, and they also got end-to-end visibility. And what it really meant is they could now really deploy their some of their payment tokenization systems as well as the PCI solutions. They could really deploy it anywhere in the world in a matter of few minutes while maintaining the PCI compliance. They could quickly automate the infrastructure provisioning for their Docker environment as well. So basically what Haventech got was they could really deploy a fully operational stack within 10 minutes, within few minutes, from days which they were earlier incurring. And they pretty much also kind of ensured zero data loss over a period of 5 years. All of this really helped them to kind of concentrate on a rapid growth mission, as well as the scale of customers that they were targeting over these years. So that was pretty much the Haventech. And with that, I finally come into, I would like you all to meet the team behind Chef Compliance, our team of developers, engineering managers, as well as product managers. It's their hard work and commitment that's really helped build the Chef Compliance product for you. Yeah, but that's pretty much from my end. And with that, I hand over back to Alan.
Great. Thank you. It's been an incredible, Sharon, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. As you've seen, a lot of the customers have already started using our solutions and bringing incredible compliance and security solutions to market. In closing, I'd like to cover just closing thoughts. Why don't we go and do a round robin here of closing thoughts? Why don't we start with you, Lokesh? What is your kind of tip? Don't make sure, for our users to make sure to not forget about as we go around the horn. Lokesh, why don't you start with you?
Yeah, sure, Alan. So the key takeaway, one of the key takeaway which I want to highlight here is like the waiver feature. The waiver feature is like which is used to use for skip controls, and not for skip controls, but with a particular set of time they can set it, and with proper justification they can apply the waiver feature. So one of the key takeaways, waiver feature from my end.
Yeah, so take a look. If you haven't looked at the waiver feature, make sure to look into it. There's some documentation out there. There's some videos that we already have produced. And if you still don't get the answer, reach out to Lokesh. He'll be glad to talk to you about waivers. Okay, Sharon, what are your closing thoughts?
Sure. Thanks, Alan. I think one of the biggest closing thoughts or the biggest takeaway for this year's Chef Conf would definitely be the concept of remediation. It's great to have a set of audit system. It's great to show the compliance posture when there are key audits happening. But what really helps between two consecutive audits and what really helps us achieve the continuous compliance is how we can improvise on the audits. And with the Chef remediation feature, that really helps you close this loop between two consecutive audits, help you, kind of remediate those misconfigurations, helps you get into that system hardening that you always wanted. So that would be one of the key features that I would really look into. And also with the Remediate that we've built in a ton of content, really makes you to remediate issues which were pretty much uncovered during the audits or during the previous audits. And now you can do all of that without really having a significant code to write on. So that's one key takeaway that I would really, considering from the Chef Con 21.
Great point. I think remediation is what we are powerful. It is one of our differentiating functionalities and features. So great point. Remediate. Ashwani, any closing thoughts? You showed a lot in your demo. What are some of the suggestions? Where do you suggest people start? What are some of your, closing thoughts?
Yeah, I can take closing thoughts as a data feed. I liked it because we don't have to maintain an report, compliance report or an chef client report. We can directly integrate a data feed with an ServiceNow or Splunk, and it's available for an customer whenever they want. So I like
and that's a great point. Data feed is an incredible functionality that we have because you can integrate it with different tool sets as well. And I bet other future integrations are still forthcoming. So stay tuned, and we will be launching those in the short term as well. And last but not least, Don, any closing thoughts, parting wishes to our audience?
Yeah, I would definitely take a look at the out of the box profiles. Just work with customers when you start working with continuous compliance. It can be very daunting to kind of figure out what you want to check and how you want to check it. So those serve as a really great baseline to get you started, especially when you get into areas like checking Kubernetes and cloud environments and desktops and all that type of stuff. So definitely check those out. Use those as a great benchmark to get started, and then you can build on those pretty easily and rapidly.
It's a great point. Great point. And again, if you have any questions, you want to get questions answered, or you have suggestions or thoughts, the Chef community channel, Slack is the way to go. Hopefully you've learned something new from this session. It is being recorded and will be posted on demand. So thank you all for attending my panel of experts. Thank you for a great session, and let's go forth and Chef compliance all the way.